Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Rick and Morty Mort Ragnarick. And I really actually enjoyed this one. I liked the combination of the A and B story and how they fused together at the end, and it was just a wacky, insane kind of adventure for Rick and Morty. So, we start off this episode and we see that, Jerry is going towards a light. He pretty much meets his grandmother saying that his grandfather's not coming out because he keeps fucking doing this. And then we see that something kind of goes weird and he gets pulled back, and we see that Rick has been experimenting on Jerry and killing him about 8 times to prove that there's an afterlife. Talking about how it's like a collective unconsciousness and that it's pretty much a potential infinite source of energy. However, Rick is so atheistic that he can't really get to one of those, so he's trying to find a kind of neutral one to kind of go to, and he's like, pack your parka, Morty, we're going to Norway. And Morty's like, oh geez. It's like, I could give you subdermal heaters. He's like, I'm going to get my parka. And we learned that he's essentially attempting to take energy from Valhalla, needing to be killed by a great warrior in some kind of form of combat to kind of get to it, and kind of seeing what's kind of going on there. So, we learn that he has this system where he's actually got a Pokeball that's got Bigfoot in it, and he's got this whole chamber and thing built out. He's got a Rick clone on standby to take his consciousness for his revival and everything, and we'll kind of see how that kind of works out. So he's like, listen, all you gotta do is push that red button, Morty, and we all know that something is going to go wrong there. So, Rick gets his shit kicked in, killed by Bigfoot, and we see him get into Valhalla. He's like, shit, it worked, fuck. And then he gets killed for the whole Valhalla because they feast, they fight, and then they go back and they kind of do it all over again. He's like, hey, can I get armor or whatnot? So they take him to the armor, and he pretty much bashes the shit out of the dude and takes all of his shit and starts to pretty much build his kind of relay and everything, waiting for pretty much to provide this signal because he needs to provide the kind of energy flow back through this kind of device and also allow him to get out through that kind of way as well. However, we see that Bigfoot's acting kind of differently, and Morty pretty much falls for what Bigfoot's ruse is. He crying and showing remorse for what he did with Rick and trying to bury him and everything. He's like, religion, oh shit. And he kind of goes in, and then Morty gets killed by Bigfoot and gets sent to Valhalla as well. And we see that they're wondering what's up with this old dude, and if Morty knows him, and if they're witches. They kind of go there, and he's trying to kind of play off what's kind of going on, but then Morty kind of comes in. He's like, God damn it, Morty, you had one job to push the red button. What the fuck, man? He's like, Bigfoot tricked me, man. So sue me. He's like, fuck, that's what he does. So they pretty much then the Vikings are then pissed off at them. They decide to essentially have a tower defense strategy going on with getting progressively better and better forms of technology going forward. First starting off with a pretty much Gatling gun, moving to pretty much aerial drones and shit. I mean, they do a lot of crazy ass shit here. It's pretty good. And then they're able to get there. The thing is, it got kind of nutty because Bigfoot tried to pretty much rampage through the rest of the pretty much improvised laboratory that Rick had set up and tried to kill his clone. However, his clone was able to escape and did a safety kind of protocol and was running through. And Bigfoot then got captured by pretty much the police. But then he then got taken by the Pope and was then put into his services because he's like, you're an animal. I can't kill people. I can't command men to kill people, but I'll command you to kill my enemies. And they essentially utilize this and take Bigfoot and say that, if you kill these people, we'll allow you to kill Rick Sanchez. Well, at least the kind of nutty dude clone body that's in its defense safety protocol mode where it's running around and trying to get away. So they pretty much drop that and use that as bait. We see Bigfoot pretty much getting back into his kind of groove. They get him a fucking wrist thing that they got from a predator, trading 2 to 3 muskets or whatnot, which is kind of cool to have a kind of predator callback as he's utilizing it to speak to people and everything. But then it starts kind of lining up. He's taking out Satanists and all that kind of stuff and all other kind of enemies of the Pope. But then it starts linking up with Rick and Morty as they finish their devices, get shot into their clone bodies, get out into the garage, but then that's when Bigfoot pops up. And we see that Morty rightfully starts taking Rick to task of, you thought that Bigfoot was stupid and dumb and that there are other types of intelligence rather than yours. And he starts kind of apologizing and saying, hey, Bigfoot, let's work together and we'll take down the Pope for everything that he's pretty much done to you. And he's like, all right, cool. And that actually works with Bigfoot, and they first try to sneak in, but they're going to like stab the body, so they just go in, and we see that the Pope has decided to utilize his spiritual resources and monetary resources and has hijacked the energy signal from Valhalla, because before they left, Rick and Morty pretty much, Morty rightfully is like, what if the Vikings attack and destroy this shit? They pretty much have an autoloader that'll pretty much go and just blast them into a hole continuously, and Rick pretty much played off that he was Odin and told him not to fucking touch the tower. So then they keep getting killed, brought back into Valhalla, get back into these bodies. Bigfoot also is killed and is first put into a summer body because she's third most likely to die and need revival. And then they make a body for Bigfoot, and they just keep getting killed over and over before they eventually call out the rest of the Universal monsters, and then they get thundercracked by the Pope again. But then Rick's like, all right, we're just in an infinite loop. We need to fucking do this. So he decides to go to the Vikings, tells them to break that shit, and they kind of go in there. They leave the Universal monsters, besides Bigfoot, there, and they're like, we gotta take out the Pope. So they get back, and they're like, and the Universal monsters are like, they didn't leave us though, right? And it's like, nope, they did. And they come back through, and we'd seen that Rick was running low on portal guns and stuff like that. Morty's saying, why don't we just kind of like teleport in here so that we don't have to deal with these guards? But they come in and they're like, ah, shit, I thought the Vikings would pretty much take out that power earlier than this. And then the Pope loses it, and they, Rick fucking captures him with a Pokeball and calls it a Pokeball. And if that was all that this was for, to get to that joke, and Morty's like, yeah, I was going to say it too, I'm fine with it. It's like, the build up to that execution of like capturing into a Pokeball and having him like and call it a Pokeball, I'm like, oh god. Now granted, I can understand that this gets a little bit repetitive, but they're able to go through enough of the repetitive parts fast enough for me that it really didn't become a negative for me. I liked how the jokes kind of rolled. I liked how the situations escalated and shifted. I loved the intertwining of the A and B stories into one cohesive story, as we then see that they take out the Pope. They got him in a Pokeball. They decide to let Bigfoot back out. However, he's still in his human form, and they essentially do the kind of cliche kind of thing at the end of a monster movie and toss beer cans at him to go away. He's like, you could have just left me, but why are you leaving me in the wilderness? I am in human form, man. As they keep doing that. Let's see here. And then we get the post-credit scene where we see that Rick is getting into a Pokemon battle and using the Pope, but then it gets broken up by the authorities, and the Pope and the Pokemon are taken out, and the Pope's like, what year is it? What's going on? Who's the Pope? He's like, alright, gotta show it to him. And it's the clone body that doesn't have any mind in it. That is now the Pope going crazy, and the Pope's like, ah, God! And then that's where it ends. So I actually really enjoyed this because it was interesting to see that we do have character development and growth, even though they are doing a typical kind of Rick and Morty thing, where Rick was actually doing this for like an infinite source of energy and to get them off of the crystal energy, which was a small little thing, but it's like, ooh, okay, you're using the crystals to power stuff and everything like that, or other kind of things as well. So it's interesting that he's attempting to move on from that and to get a more stable energy source. It was interesting that he chose to try and do this with an afterlife, and seeing him study and experiment and go along that route was fun and enjoyable for me. I could get it if this really wasn't your kind of episode, but I liked what they were able to do, playing off Rick trusting Morty more, even though Morty did fall for the trick of Bigfoot, but then they learn from their mistakes. They're like, okay, yeah, I shouldn't have done this. How do we fix this situation? Where Morty's not like dwelling completely on it and like, come on, let's get through this and figure out what we can do. And then it's like, ah, shit, you do have an infinite energy source, but now we've got a dude that's fucking jacking on that. So Rick does the hard decision and be like, all right, we got to stop this and pull this. So we'll see what kind of goes on if he continues to like go for infinite energy sources and where those kind of crazy ass things will be going. So I kind of like this as a one-off episode that really executed on the principle of beef between Rick and Bigfoot, and then the eventual teaming up for them to fight the Pope. It sounds crazy and insane, but I love the execution for this and can't wait to see where we go off next. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.